Hi, lovely humans. I want to talk to you about something that's coming up fresh to me today about the sense of belonging. And even when you're in a room full of people that you love, how you can feel like you don't belong or like you should be happy or, you're not making the sales that you want. And even though you're doing the right things, like the energy is off, right? It shows up in so many capacities. And I want to talk about this and how it's related to trauma and how our body will create narratives before our body will feel things, and then our brain will create narratives, and how this kind of works in the trauma response, and kind of share the insights have been learning, the things that have been changing my life for this whole journey. And as you're coming on, say hi. If you're new to my world, my name is Laura Patricia Martin. I'm the founder of this beautiful brand called Healing to Happy. It's a trauma-informed brand helping leaders really regulate their nervous system so they can call in and create the lives they desire, whether it's health, wealth, relationships. We go through this whole thing, and right now we actually have an offer on offer for pre-sale called Unbreakably Bold. I will be talking about that more at the end, but what I'm talking about today is a extension of that. It's just so you can get more of a feel of it in these little bite-sized taste testers, I guess, and move through that, but I'll talk about that more at the end. And so what led me to this topic was just thinking back to times in my life where my trauma responses led the way, really got in the way of me being present, got in the way of me feeling like I belonged. Because I loved this analogy that one of my mentors brought up, that imagine you're on a stage, right? They have the red velvet curtains, they have the stage, the lights, and all your personalities are there. The anger, the excitement, the elation, the depression, the heartbreak, the, playfulness, the leader, like all your personalities are there. And there's only one mic. Thing about trauma is the feelings that are related to depression and anguish and self-sabotage are usually the ones that get that microphone. And it starts to get in our way. So there's times when you go to, I remember one of my first workshops that I ever ran when I was living in Asia, and it started with maybe 5 people, and we got our way up to like 200 people in universities. But I remember the first ones when I was there, and when you walk into the room, like, you're so jazzed, you're so prepared, you're so all of these things, right? And then you're not getting the response from the people in the crowd that you wanted to get. And so my body would start to create narratives, create stories, thinking they're not engaged, thinking they don't enjoy this, thinking I'm not worthy to be here, like, who the fuck am I? All of these things happening in my body, being like, we don't belong. We don't belong, and we're doing this wrong. And there's this thing where it's like, that's the imposter syndrome, and fake it till you make it, and let me just willpower my way and give me positive affirmations, and if it were that easy, it would work. And then coming to the space now where it's like, yes, I would honestly, like, when I do lives, it's not as engaging, but that doesn't mean anything about me. I still show up here almost daily to hang out with you guys and talk to you guys and have these conversations and share the insights of what I've learned through my journey and what I can give to you and provide to you. And you can even compare this to, job interviews. You walk into a job interview and there's two types of people, right? You walk in and you've wanted this job, you've prepared for this job, you know what's happening for this job, and you sit down and the person in front of you that's interviewing you is giving you no reaction. And so you're sitting there starting to sweat, creating this narrative that you don't deserve this job, you don't deserve to be there. You've maybe even experienced this on like a first date. You're like, what is in person? They're not like blinking. And you're going through this narrative. And that's one type of person. You're starting to like feel like you're not worthy, feel like you don't belong, feel like, oh, this isn't going to work, I'm not going to get this job, and you leave feeling disheartened. And then the other person, where maybe your friend set the job up for you, so you're like, okay, this is easy. Maybe you're in the position where they're like creating a job for you, and you walk in and you're like, this is perfect, this is so easy. And even though the guy's not responsive, you're like, this is just a challenge. Like, I'm just going to keep rocking it, and I'm going to show up because this is a motivator for me. When we have trauma, it inhibits our thinking. It inhibits this microphone, the person that holds the microphone in our brain. You know, it's not our cheerleader, it's usually our shadow sister. I witnessed this in my life. When I when I pitch deals, when I'm, talking with people, when, people reach out to me, I always think it's a scam. Like, not always, but it's seeking is right. It's external validation, seeking this really a place to belong, right? And so ways that trauma impacts us, there's experiences, right? So it's through our 4 experiences of past life experiences. So things that trauma, right? Narratives we've been told, experiences we've had, things that we've had to navigate, heartbreak, stuff like that. Our bodily experience starts to inhibit it. So same thing as like being on stage or something like that, like when your heart starts to beat, instead of like getting hot and being like, ooh, and being very anxious, some people get motivated by that. They're like, this is excitement, because those 2 feelings feel the same in the body, right? Or the outside environment starts to impact us, or this, and then the story that we tell ourselves. So there's 4 experiences that impact the way our body responds to us and influenced by trauma. But the thing that we often spend time thinking of is like, if I just have willpower, right? Like, imagine something I really experienced, even though I'm in a room full of people that love me, I wasn't happy, right? Like, I'm like laughing and doing things, but that's also why I got heavily into drinking and drugs, because it was like, I don't feel connected. I don't feel this elation for life that people always talk about. Like, I don't understand, what am I doing wrong? Okay, let me go do positive affirmations. Let me go spend some time in Bali and figure this out. Let me go, do yoga and maybe try tapping and maybe, do these kind of things. And maybe I can willpower my way to do this, because logically I know I should be happy right now, but I don't actually feel it. Have you ever experienced anything like that? And then there's other things where it's like, let me go to therapy. Let me go into my past and, if I can just make sense of my past, then I'll understand why in these present moments I feel like I don't belong when I know I should. Why? And then we keep digging, and then it's still like, now I'm just kind of weary. And what about the people that like can't remember their past, much of it, because trauma has blocked it out, right? This is why in my programs and in my, especially Unbreakably Bold, that's what we're looking at. It's like, it's not necessarily looking at your trauma. That's what you do when you go to trauma therapy, which is specific for that, and that's a continuation. But to have trauma therapy be effective, we have to raise the threshold of our nervous system, which is impacted by trauma. Because our brain and certain synapses and certain parts of our brains and all that kind of stuff, they shrink when trauma happens, and we're more sensitive, and this is why we get triggered easier. And so if you don't, like, our body's like this, like we have a threshold, and when things happen, it kind of gets lower, whether it's a nutrition thing, whether it's trauma, whether it's, something that has impacted our nervous system in some type of way, it lowers. And so there's life events that will pop it up. And if we're only looking and we want to address trauma and we want to heal trauma, but we're under the threshold, or we're over the threshold, we're living above the threshold, addressing trauma is just continually spiking us. I felt that. I'd be in talk therapy and I would leave and I'd be so triggered that this is why I had to stop going to Al-Anon when I was trying to heal the wounds from my mother and my partner at the time. I just stopped going because I was like, every time I'm here, I'm triggered, and I didn't have the language or the understanding that I have now that I'm teaching you inside of Unbreakably Bold. I didn't have that. I just felt it. I was like, every time I'm here, I feel like I feel worse, right? Like I'm not below my threshold. I'm already activated day in and day out. So when you're bringing me into this space to talk about stuff, it's like, this is why it's so important. And it really is like these new studies that are coming out, and it's wild and it's beautiful, and it's really understanding these things because we want to, one, get below the threshold, and we want to raise our threshold so we can handle things. So we can really look at what the body is doing, and that's where the body experience comes in, because body experience is number one. This is what Unbreakably Bold is to feel your body beyond just like tapping and yoga and all those kind of things, which I love. There are daily tools and strategies and that like masculine structure that we need day in and day out to start to get our body into safety, so then we can comfortably navigate life and have that happiness and go to the job interview and be like, I'm rocking this, even though this person has given me a blank stare. Like, I know I'm safe and I know I'm good. Or when I'm going into my next relationship without feeling like, oh my God, what if they break my heart again? It's like, I'm okay. That's why going into this breakup that I'm navigating right now, I am okay. At the end of the day, I cry, I feel things, I let it process, but it was never an attachment to that being the happiness, right? My nervous system wasn't only regulated from that person. It was me. It was my threshold was raised. It was able to process these things in a healthy manner. Or going about sales, not having your attachment to these things and feeling disheartened and making it about you. It's really understanding how our bodily experience is going through something, so we can down-regulate it to get it under the threshold, and then we can process what's going on there. Is that landing for you? Does that make sense? Because to me, years ago, none of this was a thing. It was like, let me go to therapy and let me do yoga, and that's how I'll heal my trauma. And let me read self-help books or listen to a podcast. And then I felt like I was broken because none of that shit was working. I was like, I'm still triggered all the time, and I feel like I can't show up. And so if that is you, if this is landing for you and you're like, yeah, like I want to do something and I'm doing things, I'm not discrediting the things that we're doing, but I want to feel safe in my body. I want to feel like I know what's happening with her. I want to know that I can sit with her and feel comfortable, and I can move with her and have this like authentic self-expression that doesn't need permission, that doesn't need a filter, that doesn't need all of these tools and systems and regulation. Oh my God, Inez! Hi, baby girl. That doesn't need, all of these strategies and things. Like it will have strategies, but all of these tools that you can put into place, right? Like that's what Unbreakably Bold is. That is what healing trauma is. That is what setting yourself up for success is. So that you can go after the relationship and feel fucking amazing. So that you can go after the career and ask for what you want and walk into that interview and like blow everyone out of the park, but with it, like how sure you are. So you can walk in with confidence and magnetism on your first date and on that next chapter, and you walk in and you're like, I got this. I got this because I got me. And it doesn't mean I have to go through my past and process everything and figure everything out. It's just I'm figuring out how to get safe in my present so I can build resiliency for the future. That is the 8 weeks of Unbreakably Bold. So this is a group experience. This is how we co-regulate. This is how you connect with your sisters. This is how we show up. And I know sometimes we're sitting there and we're like, I don't want to be in groups. Like, I don't feel comfortable being on camera, and you go to the capacity of where you want, but this program is teaching you the science and the soul. This program is teaching you walking you through the steps that need to be taken for understanding the nutrition side of things, understanding the trauma side of things, understanding how our body works so you can make sense of it. You can feel what's happening in your body so you can stand in your self-leadership, and you can rise from the ashes and be the phoenix rising, so you can move through life with confidence and magnetism and claiming your voice and not letting your trauma be this like cloak that gets in the way of you claiming what is rightfully yours. It is so bold and it is so open for you. Okay, and so this is 8 weeks. It is by application only. Since it is a group program, we do want to make sure that everyone's perfect together. And then you'll apply, you click my little thing down here and you'll see the application, and then you can, me and my team will reach out to you. I'm seeing so many beautiful faces in here today. I'm so happy. I love you guys. This is a perfect way to start the workday. You can reach out, you can apply. Me and you will set up a coffee date. We'll have a conversation about this. We'll put together a strategy call, all that kind of stuff. Or if you just want to jump into that, right? Like you can just book in a roadmap call. It's called a strategy call. We're going to talk about the strategy. Like we're going to build out a strategy for you. If you're just getting started on this and you're like, I feel like I'm chasing my tail and I'm still being triggered and I'm feeling like things aren't working. I'm going to ask you the foundational questions to help rebuild that. Then we're going to go through your roadblocks. Then we're going to come up with a bang and strategy. And I've opened up that if you guys are in my email list. I sent that out the other day. Thank you. I do feel a lot better today. Like, I feel so good. But yeah, this is going to be starting the middle of May, y'all. And it's going to be 8 weeks. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a transitional period of life. And I know sometimes that's scary, but things don't change unless we change. And if groups is your roadblock, let me tell you, sister friend, groups have changed my life. It has taught me who I am. It has taught me about community. It has taught me how to show up in one of the bravest things I've known. And I get you because I dragged my feet on it for fucking years. I was like the silent little, and even though I'd like join group programs, I'm like sitting on the fence being like, I'd rather just do a self-paced thing or like whatever. But it is where the magic happens. Like, how I've been getting through my breakup is because of my masterminds, because I can come in there and be like, let me show you all of me without fear, without resentment, without feeling like I'm losing my strength. And they remind you of your power. Like, this is where I've met my best friends in the entire world. So this is your invitation. Our pre-launch, pre-sale vibe price will be increasing today in 2 hours. So if you get your application in by then, or you book in a roadmap call, you'll claim that spot, right? But after that, price will increase, things will start changing. Right now we have VIPs available and one-on-ones and things like that to really personalize the experience to you. So if this is lighting you up and you're feeling the call, I want to invite you because I love you and I want to do life with you and I want to heal this so you can rise, so you can claim your bold leadership, so you can become unbreakable, so you can understand that it's not breaking you, it's breaking you open for more to come. Okay? So I love you, and I will see you somewhere on the internet. Also, share this with someone. If you're like, this isn't totally for me, but I know someone else, or it's like, I would love to do this with a friend of mine, like this would be so good for us to expand our friendships and expand our relationships and do this, share this with them. This is how we grow this community. One, this is how we grow deeper friendships with the people we love when we can't really find the words to have these conversations. This is how we do life, right? And also this helps me out to connect with more future friends. So thank you so much. I love you, and I will see you somewhere on the internet. Happy healings.